Hello and welcome to the Zyren Development Discord.js crash course. And in this course we are going to learn to make a functional Discord bot with a few commands. One of them being a user info command to display basic user info and roles, all that fun stuff. In the user info command you can also provide a user. There's an example of someone in the server. And you can also provide a user ID of someone who's not in the server, but you could do that in your own time. We'll also obviously make a ping command, because what good's a bot without a ping command, you know? We don't talk about that ping. And then we're going to make a Marvel Rivals hero command to view information about a Marvel Rivals hero. As you can see, we have autocomplete here, which lists us a bunch of heroes. We'll look at the Hulk in this case. So we've got a picture of the Hulk, their role, team, attack type, bio and lore. And finally we're going to have a to-do list management system. So I can create a to-do, so this is a test to do. Complete this crash course. We'll assign it to myself. Submit that. So it's been assigned to me. And now if I list my to-do list, we have this a task to do, and I can mark it as complete when I've completed it. We'll press that button at the end of this crash course. Before we start this crash course, we are going to need to install a few things. You're going to need Visual Studio Code, which you can... I'll leave the links in the description for all this stuff. So yeah, you're going to want Visual Studio Code. You're going to need nodejs. You want the latest stable version. And you can install Git if you want, but we won't be using any packages from GitHub. It will be from Node Package Manager. So yeah, let's get into the tutorial. So to get started, first of all, in the terminal at the bottom of your screen, you can open it using this button at the bottom where it says no problems. Go over to terminal. You're going to type npm for Node Package Manager init-y, and that will create your package.json file, which will have all its defaults in there. Just go ahead and change this main to src/index.js, because we're going to put our project inside an src folder. Alright, let's go ahead and install some packages that we're going to need throughout this crash course. So obviously we're going to need discord.js. We'll also be using a discord.js framework known as Sapphire. So that is at Sapphire/framework. I'll put all these dependencies in the description as well, so you can check them out. You're going to want Sapphire plugin subcommands. That's going to allow us to use subcommands. Prisma/client, which is for our database I will be using in this crash course, and .n for our environment variables. So give that a moment to install. Okay, that's all done, and now we're going to go ahead and install some developer dependencies. So we'll add a -D there, and we'll do @type/node and Prisma. So give that a moment to install. Alright, now that's installed as well, so we'll clear out my terminal there. As you can see, we now have a package.lock.json and a node modules folder. So that's how you know that you are on the right path. We'll go ahead and initialize our database. So we're going to run a command npx prisma init, and please don't bully me if I'm wrong here, but I think it's 2 hyphens data source hyphen provider and SQLite. Give that a moment to do its thing. So we'll know in here, yeah, it's using a file. So get rid of all that, and we'll just put database there. And now we have a new folder called Prisma, which has this default schema. Just go ahead and delete this output line, 'cause you honestly do not need that. It's fine. So it should look something like this. Okay, so that's our project set up. So we're going to get into some coding now. So first off, let's just go ahead and populate our .env file, so we don't have to enter this file again during this video. So we're going to need a Discord bot token, which I'll show you how to get that in a minute. A Discord guild ID. And then for channels, we're going to want a message log channel ID. And then API keys. You're going to want a Marvel Rivals API key for the Marvel Rivals commands later on. So I'll show you how to get each thing now. The link to this the link to this web page will be in the description. It's discord.com/developers/applications. And it will ask you to log in with Discord. That's absolutely fine. Then you can just create a new application up here and name it whatever you want. Make sure you agree to the terms of service and developer policy and create. You might have to complete a CAPTCHA. Very simple to do with feed the hungry polar bear. Verify. Right. So all this is irrelevant for this video. What we want is bot. So a lot of people may test bot. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and check all these intents to make sure there's no problems for our application later on, and save that. And then you want to click reset token, and it's going to ask you for your two-step code if you have one. And then your token would be here, to which you can copy it and put it in your .env file. The link will be in the description to this website, which is marvelrivalsapi.com. It will ask you to log in with Discord in the top right. I've already done so. So I could just go to the dashboard, go to API in the left there, key, API keys, and then I can copy or regenerate my key from here and insert that into my .env file. So now we know how to get the values for our .env file. Just paste your Discord bot token there, your Marvel Rivals API key there, and then whichever server your bot's going to run in, you could just put a guild ID in there, and then you'll just want to create a channel for your message logs and put an ID there. So I'm going to film mine now off video. So we'll be back in a minute. So now I've populated my .env file. I can now go ahead, open this source folder, and we're going to create a file called client.js. This is where we're going to create the base of our bot pretty much. That handles all the commands, all that fun stuff, which is actually managed by Sapphire Framework. So in this file, we're going to go ahead and import. We'll do container later. For now, we'll import our Sapphire client, application command registries. I really hope I don't make a typo. In fact, I'm just gonna, yeah, okay. Register behavior, and that comes from @Sapphire/framework, like so. Let's import the enum for gateway intent bits from discord.js, and that's all we need to import for now. So we'll name this whatever you want. So this class name is not important. So if you were to name your bot, let's say Zyren bot, you can call it Zyren client. It doesn't matter what you call the client. And then that extends to Sapphire client. That part is important. So in our constructor, we'll call a super, which is where we can specify our intents. So this bot intends to access guilds. That's common sense. It's going to want guild messages. Nope. It's going to want message content and guild members. We don't need anything more than that. That's all the bot needs to access. And then we're going to call the login method. So we're expecting a token to come through that, which I'll show you how to pass that after this. So first of all, we're going to set the default behavior when not identical to bulk overwrite. I feel like I may have spelt behavior wrong. Yeah, there we go. That's my bad. So to bulk overwrite, like so. So anytime you update a slash command or anything, it would just update automatically. And then to register it to your guild by default, we can set default guild IDs, which takes an array. We've specified our guild ID in our .env file, so we can access that variable using process.env. And then we just want to return the normal login method, how you would normally log into the bot. And finally, we just want to export that tutorial client, or whatever you decided to name it. So now we've done that, we can now create an index.js file, in which case we can now import our tutorial client from the file we just created. So we could do ./client like so, and we just want to make sure .env is imported as well. So we go ahead and now create a new instance of our client like so, and now we can call that login method, which is where we pass our token through from the .env file like so. So next thing that we want to do is set up a listener. So let's set up the client ready event. So create a new folder called listeners. Inside of that folder we'll just call one Discord.js, because you can have multiple different event emitters like Sapphire Framework's emitter or Discord.js or any other library you use that may have an emitter, but we're using Discord.js, and we'll create a file called clientready.js. So we want to import the listener class from @Sapphire/framework, and we'll create a new class called ready listener, which extends listener. Once again, it doesn't matter what your class name is, what's important is that it's extending the listener. But to keep things organized, I just like to just name this client ready listener, since it is client ready. Then we add a constructor with context. Options, sorry. Then we add super with context. And we add our options, and the event we're calling, or listening for, is client ready. So now we want to create the run method for this event, which passes through a client variable. And from the client, we can get the username and the ID from its logged in user, like so. Sapphire Framework has its own logger built in, so we can use that. And we'll just say successfully logged in as username in brackets parenthesis ID. And once again, we want to export this class, which is called client ready listener, like so. And now we can go ahead and create a ping command. So we need a new folder called commands, and we'll create a subfolder to keep things organized called utility, and we'll create ping.js like so. So in this file, we're now going to import command from Sapphire Framework like so. Once again, you guessed it, it doesn't matter what you name the class as long as you're extending command, but keep things organized, just name it ping command. And then we have the constructor just like we had in our listener. And again, super context, options, and the name of this command is going to be ping, and the description replies with pong, like so. Since we're using slash commands, we're going to call the chat input run function, which has a chat input command interaction. So that's called interaction. And we can get ping from the interaction client WebSocket, like so. And then we can return an interaction reply. Let's do content pong. You can get an emoji of a ping pong bat online. Just paste it in if you want. Latency is ping milliseconds. Okay, so I'm happy with that. And then as it's a slash command, we have to register it with the Discord API. To do so, we just do register application commands, which passes through a registry. And then we can call registry.register chat input command, which now gives us a builder. Then we do builder.setName this.name, which grabs the name from here, which means the description would be this.description, like so. And then as normal, module.exports your ping command. So we'll go ahead and test what we've got so far to make sure everything's good. So to run your bot, you would just type in your terminal node space full stop. Yeah, those logs look positive. We've got one guild command, which is our ping command. Let's go check it out. Okay, so let's go ahead and run /ping. Yeah, it works. That's great. So next we'll get into making the user info command. Alright, so we'll create a new file in that utility folder again, call it userinfo.js. And likewise to the last command, you just want to import the command class from Sapphire Framework. And this time we're going to actually do something in this command. So let's import container builder, text display builder, separator builder, section builder, thumbnail builder, lots of builders, and they all come from one package, which is discord.js. So class user info command extends command, do our constructor stuff again. So super context, options, name user info, description, view information about a user, like so. And now we're going to do async chat input run, so we'll be awaiting something in this. So we want our user, which is going to come from interaction options get user. I'll show you where this comes from very shortly. If there is no user provided, we will default to whoever's sending the command. And then we want to try and get a member object to see if they're even in the server. So if there's an interaction guild, so if the command's running a guild, we want to await interaction.guild.members.fetch user ID. If there isn't a user, if there's any sort of error fetching that user, we will return null, which means there is no member. Now we can create a new container with the new components v2 that Discord recently released. New container builder, we can set an accent color. If there's a member, we'll use our display color, otherwise we'll default to white. So we'll add a header by adding a text display component and using Discord Markdown. We'll set the content of the text display builder to hashtag information user.username. So the hashtag enlarges the text, if you didn't know that about Discord with Markdown. Then we can add a separator. So that's where our separator builder comes into play. Nothing crazy there. And then because I want to display their avatar as well, we're going to do a section builder. So we're going to add a section component, which means we add a new section builder. Within that section builder, we can add text display components. It gets very confusing here of all these builders. New text display builder, and we can set the content here to user ID. Then we want a new line. We're going to put this in code blocks, just to make it look a bit nicer. And a new line again, account created. So this is where we're going to display when their account was created. Again, inside of code blocks, we can call user.createdDat and convert it to a UTC string. And then, because it's a section component, we can set the thumbnail accessory, which is where our picture goes, which is a thumbnail builder, set URL. And we would take the user's display avatar URL with a size of 1024 pixels. So that's the start of our container. We can continue building this container if there's a member object, which means they're in the server. So that means we can add more stuff. So we'll add a new separator again, just to keep it organized. And we can do a new text display builder, set the content of that. Just a smaller heading this time, but still a heading. Member information. And we could do member joined in code blocks. Member.joinDat.utc string. And then a new line again for roles. So we can create a new line for this. So here we can do member.roles.cache. We gotta filter the role to make sure that everyone is not displayed. And then we can sort the roles, so highest to lowest. Oh, whoops. Like so. And then we map out the roles. This turns them to an array of their mentions. And then we can join each mention separated by a comma. And if they don't have any roles, we say none. Now that we've built the container, we can go ahead and send it. So we'll do return interaction.reply components, pass our container variable, and then flags. We want to add ephemeral, which makes it so only we can see it. Then we'll add a sender, and then because it's using the new components, we pass through isComponents v2. Likewise to our ping command, we now have to build the actual / command using the command or registry. So it's going to be slightly different this time because we have a user option. So builder.setName, this.name just like before, set description to this.description, and then we're going to add user option. And we're going to set the name of that option to user, the description of that to the user to get information about, and then whether it's required, we'll set that to false. finally, you can export your user info command like so. And now we'll go ahead and test that. So just restart the bot from the terminal, and I will see you in Discord momentarily. Okay, so now we're in Discord. We'll go ahead and run that user info command. Yep, looks about right. And then just like I did at the start of this video, we'll look at Oreo. Yeah, all looks good. So now we can go on to the Marvel Rivals stuff. Starting to get interesting now. Okay, so for this Marvel Rivals command, I want to create a new folder called utils for utilities within our src folder. And inside of that, we are going to create a new file called marvelrivals.js. So the reason I'm making a separate file for this is to demonstrate good practice with using APIs without spamming them. In this instance, the Marvel Rivals API. So we'll just do class Marvel Rivals here, and we'll just set the domain as marvelrivalsapi.com. and heroes as an empty array by default. The constructor, which is called when the class is invoked, we'll leave this blank for now because we need to create two functions, one called resolveImage, which is going to have path. From that we'll just return https, this.domain and the path, like so. And then the main function is the fetch heroes function. So we'll go ahead and do a try catch. So if there's an error during this, we'll just do console.error, error fetching heroes, and then display the exact error. And then what we're going to try and do is fetch from the Marvel Rivals API. So we're going to call API v1 heroes. And then it requires an API key which is in your .env file. So the header is called x-API key. And then we just pass through our Marvel Rivals API key from the .env file. If the response isn't okay, so if it's like a 404 or a 401 or something, we'll just throw a new error, HTTP error, and then we want the HTTP code. Otherwise, if everything's good, we can go ahead and set this .heroes to the response JSON. On the screen now is an example output from calling the endpoint that we just done in our code. So we'll get a bunch of JSON that looks like this. It's a very long list, and that's what's going to be going into our variable. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that real quick. So let's go back to our code. And then of course we can end this file with a module exports Marvel Rivals, since that's the class name. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual Marvel Rivals subcommand. So let's create a new folder in commands called Marvel Rivals, since it's a new category now. And we'll just call this file marvelrivals.js as well. So this time we're going to be importing subcommand. And that's going to be from Sapphire plugin subcommands. Before we go any further, before I forget, now that we're using subcommands, we're going to go back to our index file and we just need to quickly add this line. This is what allows us to use subcommands anywhere in our code. Okay. Alright, so come back here now. Now we could do class Marvel Rivals command extends subcommand. We'll have our usual constructor with our super context, options. The command name is going to be Marvel Rivals, and the subcommands we're going to have is going to be hero. And then we're going to run the chat input hero function if that subcommand is invoked. So we'll create that function now, chat input hero, which has an interaction. This is just an empty function for now because we need to make another file. But in the meantime, we're going to do the registry. So again, it's going to be slightly different because we're now doing a subcommand. So we do register chat input command, which has a builder. And we want to do builder set name, this.name, description to this.description, and we're going to add subcommand. So subcommand, and the name of this subcommand is just hero. We'll set the description to get information about a Marvel Rivals hero. Oh, I just recalled, we don't actually have a this.description for a subcommand because the base subcommand doesn't actually have a description that displays, so you can literally just put ABC if you wanted to. It's not going to display. It's this description that's going to display. And then onto this we can add a string option this time, because it's just simply text. And the option name is going to be name, because it's the hero name. The description is the name of the hero. We do require this. And we're also going to add autocomplete to it, just in case some people don't know all the hero names. So now we've done that, we'll want to do our usual module.exports. Can never forget that. Like so. Now we're going to create a folder inside of Marvel Rivals, and we'll just call it Marvel Subcommands, I guess. Tell you what, no, let's rename the category to Marvel on its own, because I like to have a folder with the same name as the command to keep things organised. And inside of that, it's important that you put an underscore before the file name, which is going to be Marvel Rivals Hero.js. The reason we put the underscore is because Sapphire Framework will try and register it as a command otherwise, and it will throw an error because it can't register it as a command since there's not a registry in it. So by putting an underscore at the start, it ignores that file and doesn't try and register it. Inside of this, first of all, let's just quickly go to our client.js file before anything, and that utility we made earlier, we can import it here. So we'll import that from util/Marvel Rivals, and then we can just do let's import container as well from Sapphire Framework. Then we could do container.Marvel Rivals, and we just create a new instance of that class. There's something else I forgot to add to Marvel Rivals, how else I remember. We never actually finished the constructor, so we'll do that now. It's going to be this.fetch heroes, and then on an interval, because we want to fetch it every 1 hour. So 1 times 60 times 60 times 1000 milliseconds. That'll be every hour. And we'll just call this .fetch heroes again. And that will actually run this function then on a schedule. So going back over to our client, we've done what we needed to do there. So now we can go back to this underscore file for the hero command. Import container from Sapphire Framework. And then we want some builders again. Container builder, text display builder, separator builder, if I spell that correctly, section builder, thumbnail builder, and that's all our builders from discord.js. Okay, so now we're going to do class Marvel Rivals hero command, static async run, since we don't have a constructor for this. We don't need a constructor. And we're going to get the hero ID from interaction options get string name. So again, the string from our command options from here, because it's called name, we get it from name. And now we can get the hero object from container Marvel Rivals .heroes.find, and we're looking for a hero that matches the ID provided. So .heroes.find is because in our utility here we have an array of heroes, so that's where it's coming from. Okay. If the hero doesn't exist, we will reply with content hero not found. We don't want everyone to see that response, so we'll just call ephemeral as the flag. And then we can do embed container. So new container builder. We'll just set it to be white. You can set it to whatever colour you want. And then likewise before, we're going to do a header. So hashtag Marvel Rivals hero, and then we want the hero.name, which is returned from Marvel Rivals API. Gonna add a separator component, like so. And then because I want the hero image, we will do add a section component. So using a section builder. All these builders get so confusing, but it does all make sense. It's a lot of writing though. But yeah, we got the hero.role, and then what team this hero is on. I don't personally play Marvel Rivals, believe it or not, so I don't know anything about the game, but I just wanted to use an API, so here we are. And their attack type. So now, I believe it's here, set thumbnail accessory, new thumbnail builder, set the image URL, and we're going to do container.marvelrivals.resolveImage hero.image URL. So remember we made that function earlier for resolve image, just returns a string. That's what that was for. Okay. Moving on. We will now add the law and the bio. So add text display components. And we'll set the content as bio. We'll do this in code blocks. Hero.bio. And then the law. Hero.law. And then we can just reply. So return interaction reply. Components, we're passing through the embed container we just made. And the flags, we'll do is components v2. I did originally put ephemeral on it, but let's not do it this time, so you don't need to. And as usual, module.exports Marvel Rivals hero command. Now we're going to go back over to our original subcommand file and we are going to import what we just created, Marvel Rivals hero command from Marvel Rivals and that file we just created. And then we could just do return Marvel Rivals hero command dot run and pass the interaction through like so. Before we test this command, there is one more thing we need to do. We need to get the autocomplete working. So to do so, in the src folder we'll create a new folder called interaction-handlers and a new folder inside of that called autocomplete. And a file within that called hero autocomplete.js. So we're going to import interaction handler and interaction handler types from Sapphire Framework. And we're going to want the container as well. So create the class hero autocomplete handler, which extends our interaction handler. Do our usual constructor, super, and options interaction handler type, which is autocomplete. These interaction handler files, they have two functions, run and pass. So we'll create our run function, which doesn't need to be async. Interaction result. We want to respond to the autocomplete. And then pass is where we're going to be doing all fun stuff. Don't think that needs to be async either actually. So we do pass interaction. So we're going to check the command name. So if interaction command name is not equal to Marvel Rivals, then we return this .none, which means it just gets ignored. We want to get the focused option, which is interaction.options get focused. If the focused option name is not equal to name, so let's go back into the Marvel Rivals command. If it's not equal to name, then again we're going to return this .none to ignore it. Now, because the heroes is a bunch of objects of their bio, lore, abilities and all that, we only want the name for this autocomplete. So we're going to do const hero names is container Marvel Rivals.heroes. It's an array, so we can filter it. And we'll filter it by hero name, put it to lowercase. We're checking if it includes what the command sender has typed out so far. Then we want to map that into the correct format. The correct format being name, hero.name, and value, which is going to be the hero ID. Hence why we get a hero ID in the actual command. And then with Discord, it's a Discord limitation. If there is more than 25 responses, then there will be an error. So we just make sure there's no more than 25 hero names. And then we can just return this.sum, which is the hero names, which passes these hero names to the result, and the interaction can then respond with that said result. Don't forget to export. Like so. I believe we can test that now, so restart the bot. And I'll see you in Discord. Okay, so now we're in Discord. We'll go ahead and run the Marvel Rival Heroes command. Oh dear. So we're missing something because the autocomplete doesn't seem to be working. So let's debug that. Let's go back over to Visual Studio Code. Yeah, I'm just wondering what's missing there. So let's have a good look. So we go to Marvel Rivals JS. We've set autocomplete to true, so that's fine. Command name is Marvel Rivals, that's fine. We didn't get any errors. Wait, I tell a lie. We did get an error. We had a 401 which... Okay, so that's from the Marvel Rivals API. For some reason I was 401, so give me a moment to look into that. Alright, so I found the issue. I wrote this the wrong way round. It is actually X API key. Okay, so go ahead and start the bot. There shouldn't be an error this time. Alright, now I will see you in Discord. So, there we go. Now we got all the hero names populating. So go ahead and let's do Storm. There he is, Marvel Rivals Hero Storm. And we'll do another. Let's do Captain America. There's Captain America. So yeah, we're successful in that command. So let's go back over to Visual Studio Code. And we will start doing our to-do list commands. Alright, so let's close all these files that we have so far. Because they're getting a bit cluttered. And we'll create a new category in our commands called admin. And within that we're going to have a to-do.js. So we're using subcommands for this again, so we import the subcommand class from Sapphire's subcommands plugin. And then same as our Marvel Rivals command, we extend subcommand constructor, context options, and the name of this command is to do. The required user permissions to run this command will be moderate members, and then our subcommands in this will be name create, chat input create, and list. Chat input list. So that's our constructor sorted. We'll do empty functions again like we did before. Chat input create, interaction, and chat input list, interaction. And then do the registry stuff for our slash commands. So we'll do registry, register chat input command, and we can do builder, set name this.name, set description ABC because it's irrelevant, add subcommand, subcommand set name create with a description, create a new to-do item, and then once again we want to add another subcommand, so set name list with a description, list all to-do items, and then do our module.exports for the to-do command. Okay, so same as before, we create a to-do folder inside admin, and then we can have the underscore to-do create.js. So we're going to import a modal builder, label builder, text input builder, text input style, and user select menu builder, all from discord.js, all these builders. Okay, class to do create command, static async run with our interaction pass through. So we're going to do const modal, or modal builder. We'll set the title of that modal to create to do item, and the custom ID can be to do create modal, like so. We want to add a label component, so label builder. We want to do item, and let's have a little description under it. Describe the to do item. And then we want to set a text input component. Text input builder. Custom ID for this can be to do item. The style is a text input style.paragraph, because we want a multiple line box. We don't know how big the to do item is going to be. We can have a placeholder. Enter a to do item here. We are going to require this input to be filled in and to exceed no more than 500 characters. Right, so now we want to add another component to select our user. So we'll set this label to assign to. Assign the to do item to a moderator. And we can set the user select menu component to a new user select menu builder. The custom ID for this one could just be moderator. We'll have select a moderator when no one is selected, and this is required. And finally, we just want to do interaction, show modal, and pass through the modal we just created. Now we could do, module.exports to do create command. And now we can implement that into the original subcommand. To do create, and then we could do to do create command or run interaction, like so. Okay, now we're going to need the to do list. So in that to do folder again, underscore to do list.js. This time we're going to want the container from Sapphire Framework. And guess what? More builders! So, we want the container builder, the text display builder, the separator builder, the section builder, the button style, and a button builder. Yeah, we're using buttons for this one. So now we want to do class to do list command static async run interaction. Now we need to sort out our database. So we're going to go to the Prisma folder, schema.prisma, and create a new model in there called to do. It's going to have an ID, which is going to be a number, aka an integer, primary key, and the default is just going to be auto increment, which means the number will just keep going up by 1 every time a new entry is created. So that's handled for us. We'll have a user ID, which is a string, which since I don't think SQLite supports big ints, so we'll just use string. Same with admin ID, we use string. The content of the to-do is also a string. Complete is a boolean, and the default for that is false. Created at, we'll do a date time, which is going to default to the current date and time. Updated at is also going to be a date time and default to updated at. So in our console, now we've done this, we can do npx prisma db push, and that would create a new file called dev.db or whatever you named it in your env file. And then just for OCD reasons we could do npx prisma format, and it's going to format this file for us like so. Okay, so now we have that database, we can come back to this command because now we're going to use the database. So if you remember earlier in the client.js, oh, we haven't actually done it yet. Okay, we'll do that now. So we'll import Prisma client. Thought we already done this, but we did not. And then we can do container.prisma equals new Prisma client. So now we can access our database using the container. Okay, so we'll get all our to-dos. So we want to filter this by 2 conditions, hence why I'm using AND. The user ID, we should only be able to see our to-do list, and only see them if they're not complete. If there is no to-dos, we can just reply, you have no active to-do items, and we don't want everyone seeing that, it's none of their business, so we just do ephemeral. And here we go again with the builders. Embed container is a new container builder. We'll just set it to white again, but set it to whatever colour you want. Add a heading, and you don't have to actually do everything I do with these headings and all that, it's just how I prefer it. You could do what you want with these builders, be creative. Join our Discord and show us your creativity, link below. And separate a builder there. Now you want to go through each to-dos. I only want to display up to 5 because Discord has a limitation on how many components you can have in a component. So, yeah. Don't want to hit that limit now, do we? Am I missing something? Yeah, I am. Yeah, let's get that looking correct. There we go. So we can add a section component for each to-do item. I'm just going to have a text display component. And we'll just do index plus 1 since index starts with 0. And do to-do.content from the database. And then we want to set a button accessory using the button builder. So set the custom ID. We'll do to-do complete button with a colon and the to-do ID. So we know which to-do is for. Set the label as complete. And the button styled successful, a nice green button. And then we can just go ahead and send that container. So components, embed container. It's no one's business what everyone's to-dos are. So ephemeral, and then obviously it's a component v2. Don't forget to export. So this one is to-do list command. And let's just add it into this. Oh, whoops, we're meant to do that. Okay, and then we can just add it into this. Run interaction. Right. So that was semi-work now, but we still haven't handled the button clicks or the modals. So we'll do that now. Let's close some of these folders, getting cluttered again. In the interaction handlers, we'll create a new folder called button. Oh no, that doesn't go in the autocomplete one though. There's separate folders. And then another one called modal. We'll start with the modal. So name this one to do create modal.js. And then just like the autocomplete interaction, we want the interaction handler and the interaction handler types from Sapphire Framework. And probably want the container as well. So to do create modal handler extends interaction handler. Our usual constructor. Options, interaction handler type, which is going to be modal to submit this time. And then likewise, we have pass and run. So we'll do run first, async run, interaction. So we want to get the to-do item. So earlier when we created the modal, we set a custom ID called to-do item. That's where it's coming from. And the same with the moderator. Interaction fields get selected users, which is going to be moderator. And we just want the first user that's selected. In the database, we can now create the new to-do item. And the data we're going to pass is user ID, which is going to be moderator.id. So this is who the to-do is for. The admin ID is the person who set the to-do item. And then the content is just to-do from up here. We can now reply. With content to-do item created and assigned to moderator to string. And then we'll set the ephemeral flag like so. And then we need to sort out our pass. So just do pass interaction. And all we want to check is that the modal custom ID is equal to do create modal. If it is, we return this.sum, otherwise this.none to ignore it. Don't forget your module exports. So that's that handler done. We're now going to move on to the button handler to mark it as complete. So to do complete button.js, interaction handler and interaction handler types, and container from Sapphire Framework. Class to do complete button handler extends the interaction handler. Context options, super. Interaction handler type. And this one's button. So same as all our interactions, we have a run method. This time we're going to have a to-do ID passed through, and I'll show you how to do that with the pass function shortly. We want to get the specific to-do at hand, so we get it from the database. So we'll find first, which will return one record, where the to-do ID is the to-do ID we've been passed through. If there's no to-do, We just simply want to reply with content to do item not found. We'll set that as ephemeral. If it's complete, so if it's already complete, we don't want to mark it as complete again, do we? This to do item is already marked as complete. Like so. And then we want to update it in the database. So container Prisma to do update where pass int to do ID. And then what we're updating is setting complete as true. And then we can just give ourselves a successful reply. To do item, to do ID has been marked as complete. Ephemeral. And now for our pass function. We'll have an interaction. And this time we want to check if the interaction custom ID starts with to do complete button. If it does, then we want to return a to do ID that is in that. So we'll do that by splitting by colon. We'll do that. Otherwise, we'll ignore it. And then finally, module.exports. Complete button handler. And then I believe that's everything to make this work. So let's go ahead, start the bot. We will now go to Discord. And see, so to do create, we have the modal here. Finish this tutorial. Also, finish this crash course. That's for me to do. Yep. And then we'll just create another one now. This is a test to do. Assign it to me again. And then we can run to do list. And mark this test to do as complete. Already marked as complete, so that's good. And if I run the to-do list again, it should only show finish the crash course, which we'll do at the end. So let's go back over to Visual Studio Code and move on to our message logs, which is the final thing I'll be showing you before we wrap up this crash course. So we're going to create a new listener under Discord.js called message delete. So we want to see deleted messages. Just like we did with the ready listener. Import that, and then we won't do components v2 for this one. We'll just do the old embed builder. So I'm tired of using builders as well, to be honest. They're good, but they're just long. Okay, so super context, options, event. This event is message delete. And then run, we have a message object. So we're going to check if the message author is a bot or the message wasn't running a server. We just ignore this event. Then we can get our log channel from the server. And we provided an ID earlier in our .env file. If there is a log channel object that's been found, we'll create an embed. So we'll set the title as message deleted. Set the color to red. set the description to the message content that was deleted, the thumbnail to the sender's avatar URL, and we can add some fields. So first we want to know who sent the message. So we'll just do message.author and then give their user ID as well. Why not? And that can be inline. And then we want to know what channel was it sent in. So message.channel and the ID of the channel, which can also be inline. And then we could do log channel .send embeds and then pass through our embed like so. Don't forget your module exports. And one more thing I want to show you is the message update listener for edited messages. So message update. Did I make a typo? Don't. Questioning myself whether there's 3 E's in that now. Doesn't matter anyway, it's only the file name. So import listener from Sapphire Framework. We'll have our embed builder again from discord.js. And message update listener extends listener constructor. Same old, it's boring me now. We're almost at the end of this crash course. I hope this has been useful to everyone who's watching. Remember to make this event message update. And honestly, I'd love to see some feedback in the comments. Maybe even some requests on what I should make in the future. So we want to check if the new message author.bot. So we're checking if the sender is a bot or if it's not in a server. And then sometimes, I think it's like when you embed in links or something, the message content is exactly the same and we don't want to see that edit, so fix it like that. Same as last time, get the log channel again, use a new message, guild channels cache.get. Message log channel ID. Whoops. If log channel, so if there's a log channel object, we can create an embed again. Set title as message updated. Set color yellow. Set thumbnail. Display avatar URL. Add fields. So same as last time, we want to know whose message has been edited. Give their ID as well. Inline true. Which channel? New message channel. And the channel ID, which is also inline. And then the old content. Old message.content. And the new content, which the new message.content. Both of those are not inline. And then we can go ahead and send it to the log channel. So embed, like so. Module exports. Okay, hopefully this will work first try, and then we can wrap it up here. So let's go to Discord. Oh, before we go to Discord, better restart the bot, eh? Can't remember if I've done that already. But back to Discord now. So we'll go ahead and create test, edit it, ink, and delete that testing message. Yep, there it is in our audit logs. And there we have it, guys. We are at the end of this crash course finally. And one thing we've been waiting to do, let's mark it complete on the to-do list. There we go. That's the end of the crash course. So we've created a Discord bot that has fetching from an API of Marvel Rivals. We've played around with components v2, modals, buttons, autocomplete. Yeah, I want to see what you guys can come up with. So let me know in the comments. Join the Discord server even as well. And I'll be out with future videos. Thank you.